unmute. Sorry about that. Okay, yes, this is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us on WZRD, Roni Thraillkill. She is part of an organization called Mothers for Justice, trying to fight for the rights of very bad conditions of inmates at Cook County Jail. Roni, welcome
Yes.
to WZRD via Zoom.
Thank you, Trudy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and by the way, Roni, if it's not that big of a deal, however, we wizards, while we're on the air, we try to remain anonymous. So you could just address me as Miss Wizard.
Miss Wizard, okay.
Awesome. Okay. Well, Roni, let's first of all discuss the background for Mothers for Justice and how your experience fits into Mothers for Justice.
Thank you. We actually met early 2022. I believe it was like the end of January. And our sons were all in solitary confinement at Menard Prison. So of course they have limited accessibility to the telephone. So they would have each other call each other's mother just to let them know that they're okay, they love us, you know, just the extent of their status. So the mothers all of us started talking, and we would share the stories of the torture and the abuse that they're all going through. And we said, well, hey, why don't we form an organization together and get involved a little politically with organizations to get this out, what's going on at Menard Prison. And then that's when I found out about Anthony Gay, and it just evolved from there.
Mm-hmm. Well, sorry about the getting the wrong prisons. It's Menard, not Cook County Jail.
No, it's Menard Prison.
Okay, all right. Could you describe for us what kind of torture, what kind of conditions are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about rusty cells. We're talking about rodents and the feces in the cell. As you know, Menard Prison is the oldest prison in the Illinois Department of Correction. It's right off the Mississippi River. Like you can see it from the prison. So the rats there, it's horrible, very, very bad. As well as the mysterious deaths of inmates in solitary confinement this year alone.
How many this year?
2. That the warden is not addressing when we call, when we have Black Lives Matters, when we have Rainbow Push Coalition to reach out, also Uptown Law Firm reaching out. They actually did a recent walkthrough, which was approved. I was shocked to hear that. And they did interview some of the inmates, and my son Chaz Thraillkill was one of the people that were interviewed. And at that time, they said that he was in good spirit. I told him that Uptown Law Firm was coming down on the civil lawsuit that they have against Menard Prison about the conditions. This has been going on for years. This is not new. Matter of fact, I called there twice today, got information, and because of the Mothers of Justice MOJ, who I'm with, our sons are particularly targeted. This is the worst part about it. So my son has been in solitary confinement for over a year. He was released on good behavior early. It was supposed to be the end of July, but he was actually out on the 13th of July, which was, I believe, a Wednesday. Yesterday, I got an alarming phone call from him that they're putting him back in there on something he did not do. They do falsify tickets. It is a job security thing there. They have families that work there, correctional officers, like they have family members. It's a small town, so the whole town works for the prison. If they don't like you, then they falsify tickets or they keep you in solitary confinement longer. Why, I don't know. My son in February went on a hunger strike for the whole month of February, Black History Month. He did it because prior to February, that's when the mothers started talking in January, the rations of food was very minimum. If the food was cooked at all, it was unedible. So my son took it upon himself, and he does have a right to do a hunger strike. So he did a hunger strike. They put him in the infirmary, I think after the 25th day, because he stopped at the end of February. On the 20th day, they took him to the infirmary and called me and told me they were going to put a feeding tube in my son's stomach if he would not eat. My son refused that. First of all, they don't have a doctor at Menard Prison. So who is inserting a feeding tube in an unsanitized facility? So I cried, I took off of work, I begged and pleaded, I called the warden's office to make him eat. So he said, Mama, just hold on, I'll eat at the end of February. So the counselors were communicating with me every day. They heard the strife in my voice, the desperation. So he finally ate. That eliminated, I think at the 28th day, they were actually going to put a feeding tube in him. So who would know how that would have turned out? So it's just one thing after another. One of the other mother's son was shackled, handcuffed. His name is Isaiah Brady, and he was shackled and handcuffed in solitary confinement, and they beat him unconscious until he went into a seizure. They have a civil lawsuit, his mom and her son, against Menard guards for beating him. He has epileptic MAW seizures. They called MAW, M-A seizures. So, and this has been noted, but they still continue to torture and abuse the inmates. That doesn't make sense if he's handcuffed and shackled. There's another son of ours, Michael Minifield, who is hearing impaired. Anyone that has a deficiency should have a sign over their cell so that the guards or anyone that needs to approach him knows what the problem is. There is no sign outside his door. So Michael gets into trouble a lot with the guards or tickets put on him because he can't hear the guards if they have to repeat orders to him. And so they're thinking that he's resisting, and that's not the case. So he has not been out. It's been over a year for him as well, being in solitary confinement. And
So
it's just, go ahead.
So the guards don't pay any heed to the medical records of the inmates. If they had access to the medical records and looked at them, they would see that he is hearing impaired, right?
Absolutely, as well as the other young man, Isaiah Brady, who has seizures. He has a little mental illness as well, but they are using those deficiencies, those health deficiencies against the inmates, and that is inhumane.
Could you tell us a little bit about the deaths in Menard as well? On the average, how many are there per year? And do you have any idea about the cause of death? Is it accidents? Is it perhaps suicides or any indications of the manner of death?
That's a great question. Ms. Wizard. I don't have the stats on that. What I do know, which is ridiculous, is that 70% of all of the inmates in the Illinois Department of Correction come from Cook County. That's a huge number. In the whole state of Illinois, 70% come from Cook County. So something is wrong with the legislature process, the court process. I don't know if it's pay to play, that they get these long sentences, as opposed to the brown and blacks get the longest sentences as opposed to the Caucasian minority. If you look at different cases, they'll just get manslaughter or they'll get a misdemeanor, but they're putting life sentences on the Black men in Illinois. And I think it's called job security for them.
And so Menard is it medium security, maximum? What is it again?
It is maximum.
Maximum.
Yes, ma'am.
And manslaughter cases, they also go to the maximum security?
It depends on the level of security of an individual. Now, if not necessarily, that would be a medium or minimum security type of facility. But if that person is maybe an escape risk, or there's some mental problems, then they are upgraded to maximum security.
So the entire Menard, is it entirely maximum, or is there a mixture of medium and maximum?
No, ma'am, it's strictly maximum. And I think there's 3 prisons in Illinois that are max, which is actually Menard is super max. It's a super max. And then there's, oh my geez. Oh my God, it's another one in further in Illinois. And then there's Pontiac.
Pontiac is also super max?
It's maximum, not super max, but maximum.
Okay.
I can't think of the other one. It starts with a C. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, it's not Statesville.
Oh, no. It's actually Lawrence.
Lawrence
Prison. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's all the way, it's further than Menard. Menard is right before you cross the Ohio River to get to Missouri.
Right. For the victims of the abuse, etc., the inmates, this has been occurring for how long? For
Decades.
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 It never ended. It
Never.
It was like this way
Never
from the
ended.
beginning.
No, ma'am. Word is because we're having the rally tonight, somehow the guards have gotten this information and they have addressed our sons individually, that they must think that they're a movie star or they're popular because their mothers are out fighting to get Menard Prison closed. We have set up many, many meetings with the Illinois Department of Corrections director, which is Rod Jeffries. He says yes to the meetings, and he has, at the last minute on the day of the meeting, to have a sit down face to face with Rainbow Push and also the Chicago Alliance. He has canceled the day of the meeting for unknown reasons.
And what is the name of the organization? Alliance of what?
The Chicago Alliance Against Racism
Oh, that.
and Political Repression.
Okay, so that's with Frank Chapman, right?
Exactly. Yes, ma'am. And then also with Rainbow Push,
Yes.
Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., Bishop Tavis Grant has also set up meetings with the director and he said yes and canceled.
Mhm.
And these are very, very important people that they share cell phone numbers together. But why he cancels, we have no idea. He doesn't want to be faced with the conditions or address the conditions that are going on there, which are horrible.
Was he ever in other meetings? Did he ever have previous face-to-face meetings with any of you before?
No, ma'am.
This would be the first one then.
Yes, that he keeps canceling.
And how long has he been in this position?
I believe Jeffries was appointed last year by Pritzker.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's new.
And let's say that these conditions at the prison, who would be able to address these conditions? If he were to ask that these conditions be changed, is he one man? Is he able to do it, or does
He's able? Yes, ma'am. There's only actually two people. It's the governor and his director of the Illinois Department of Corrections.
Okay.
They have the power of the pen.
Mm-hmm. So either one of them is sufficient to do it if they wanted to.
Absolutely.
And have they given any indication about why they would not want to? Are they getting any political pressure that you know of?
Well, since this recent election last month, we were unable to get a sit down with the governor. We have been in contact with his assistant to get a meeting set up along with Rainbow Push. We're still waiting to hear back from him or his assistant. We are still sending messages to the director, Rod Jeffries, but we have not heard from anyone. So we're just waiting, and we're constantly calling. I called Springfield this morning on behalf of what's going on there.
These conditions that you speak of, the PCs and all the inhumane conditions and the solitary confinements, are these unique to Menard, or is that widespread throughout the Illinois correctional system?
I hear it's widespread for solitary confinement, but it's not as bad as Menard. We heard that the KKK has their group is actually in Chester County, where Menard is located. The guards some of them are members of the KKK. That came from a very reliable source. I will not say who said, but there is prejudice at that prison.
Okay. We want to welcome now a fellow community activist, Bill Morton of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. We're very active in community activism. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And this is, and we have with us as the guest is Roni Thraillkill. She's the mother of one of the inmates at the Menard Correctional Center.
I've listened to the beginning of this interview, and welcome, Roni. Thank you. I'm the president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and we represent the residents, businesses, or nonprofit organizations and institutions in our neighborhood. We've been to the Rainbow Push Coalition. We spoke with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'm just wondering, it seems like you're hitting all of the check boxes for things you need to do to enact the change you're desiring. Have you done petitions? You're doing community outreach. What more can you do that you feel? What do you feel that you could do more, or what kind of support do you need that you feel that you currently don't have?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. We are asking for an outside, how can I put it? Someone to go in from the outside for a review to see what's going on as an independent alliance, like a law firm, to go in. We are working with Uptown Law Firm. They have just made a walkthrough visit, which we were shocked that they were given the security to visit with some of the inmates, especially my son. We are looking for just people to speak up. If we get more unity in the communities and with other organizations to help us speak up, to go forward to the IDOC to set up these meetings and with the governor in unity to get some of these conditions adhered to for consideration.
Are there any additional council meetings? Are there any additional board meetings? Are there any commission or committee meetings is there any territory that you have not crossed yet in your goal?
Well, I'm new to this, Bill. So I'm learning as I'm in unity with the Chicago Alliance and Rainbow Push Coalition. So we have weekly Zoom meetings to keep everyone abreast on what's going on, how we can further get our word, our point across to get the conditions better, or to get the facility actually closed down. So I'm new to this, Bill, but that's a good question I will bring up tonight.
And I also noticed that you're talking about the prisons for profit motive. Could you go a little bit deeper into that? Any information that you have about how the prison system is making profit from the prisoners?
Well, I do know that the director, Rod Jeffries, has contracts, and he's outsourcing a lot of contracts that are coming up, from what I heard from Rainbow Push, from what they told when they had the symposium last month at the South Shore Cultural Center. There were a lot of vendors that have been brought on by the IDOC, that they were explaining their services. I'm quite sure they have raised those prices, or whatever charges that they're charging the state of Illinois to get these contracts. Also, with that being said, we wanted to be in on that meeting, but it was a closed meeting. Unfortunately, we wanted to hear what those vendors were talking about and how they were going to make conditions better. I did, as I said to Ms. Wizard, that 70% of the incarceration is from the Cook County zip code, from the area. 70%, that is huge. So something is definitely going on. It has to be some type of method that they're putting life sentences on the Black and brown folks who get caught up in the system, and it's just called job security.
And then you mentioned that your son was in solitary confinement for a period of 1 year, and you also mentioned that there a non-medical personnel may be putting a feeding tube device in his neck.
Definitely.
I'm not certain that's legal, is it?
I don't think it is legal, and if they were to do that, they should have, at least said, we will take him to the hospital. Of course, they don't want anyone to die on their watch, but it is his constitutional right if he does not want to eat.
For the conditions, it being so close to the Missouri, the Ohio River, is when there are heavy rains, does the Menard Prison flood?
Yes, it does.
And
I know that for a fact.
Mm-hmm. And then how long does it take for it to the water to go away? And is there any cleanup effort that is the mold around? Is the sewage still around? How long does all that stay? And
It stays a long time. And what they do is move them around, and then there's overcrowdedness in other cells because of the flooding. Another condition was the heat. Imagine the heat that it has been the last couple of months, in the triple digits for those men in solitary confinement with no ventilation. In solitary confinement, there are no windows. There's only a slot they can't see out of. So imagine being in those type of conditions in triple digit heat for days at a time. We had a phone bank going on that we were calling on all day long, as much as possible, to find out how are the inmates' health conditions in this heat. If we're burning up, can you imagine what they're going through behind steel?
so we're assuming that they don't have air conditioning, and if so, it's very insufficient air conditioning.
No, they have no air conditioner in that facility, none.
And what kind of medical service do they have? Do they have how many doctors and how many nurses? How many inmates per doctor and or nurse?
I don't know those statistics, Ms. Wizard. I know that there is no doctor, no MD there. There is a nurse there in the infirmary, during the shifts, 24 hours a day. How many nurses are assigned per inmate or per gallery, as is their galleries there or houses? How many men are in each one? I don't know the number to that. I do know from their website that it's a little over 2,000 inmates there, and it's over $40,000 per inmate per year. That's a lot of money.
Yes.
And we heard earlier with Cook County, the quality of water, the quality of cell conditions, and the quality of food was way below human consumption standards. Do you know anything about the standards at this facility?
I don't know, but I do know from meetings, one of the Mothers of Justice has a coach bus every weekend. She takes bottled water that is donated from the city, also from Walmart, from Pete's Produce. She takes cases of water every Saturday to Stateville for those inmates because there's Legionnaire's disease in that water. They cannot drink out of the water. It was tested and found that there's Legionnaire's disease. That we know for a fact.
And
That may have been the system I was referring to. I may have thought it was that one.
Yes, sir. So that's pretty bad.
yes, for Menard Prison, if it were to close, and there's almost no possibility that it will close. If it were to close, do you know to what facilities the inmates would be transferred, the 2,000 inmates?
Well, again, I heard that they recently closed some houses at Stateville. As you know, Stateville is a medium max. They closed those houses. I don't know why, if it was due to funding, but they only have 2 houses open, and those inmates that had to be moved went straight to Menard Prison. They went straight there. And this was just last month. So they transferred a lot of inmates from Stateville. Pontiac Stateville is actually a receiving facility for new inmates to the system that are coming from Cook County or other counties in Illinois to be processed to go to their respective facilities. So it's actually called a receiving prison.
Right.
Pontiac is maximum, and then Lawrence, and then Menard. So we are pushing the pen to have our sons, these particular 4 sons, transferred, even if they are in solitary confinement, because once you're in solitary confinement and you're transferred, you stay in solitary confinement until that end of sentence is over, of however long that ticket stands on that inmate. We just want them out because it's constant harassment, and the conditions are horrible. They are trying to break them down mentally. It is not Menard Correctional Facility, it's Menard Prison, because nothing's being corrected.
And is it the warden? Is it the head of prisons, the Rod Jeffries, that writes these tickets? Who writes them?
No, he's the director over all of the facilities.
Mhm.
So the warden at Menard is Anthony Wills,
Mhm.
Willis. And I have been calling, I called his office this morning. I call consistently on a weekly basis. All I get is his secretary, or that he's busy, or that he's out, or he's in a meeting. You can't speak to the warden.
Mhm.
So all I can do is just try, and they can't legally hang up on me. So I bug them.
Mhm.
When they bother my son, then I bug them. And that's what I do as much as possible.
They say the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Do you have like a call tree? Do you have like with your groups, do you have people calling?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes, sir. We all call every day. All the mothers call. I'm gonna have to cut this meeting short in a few minutes because I am at work.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's talk about to give us a little bit more details about the rally, and then also if you still have time after that, tell us if there were any previous rallies or meetings, and how helpful were the previous ones. But first, tell us the details
Oh, yes,
about the coming one.
definitely. I would love to do that. So tonight, the Mothers of Justice, along with Black Lives Matters and the Rainbow Push Coalition and the Chicago Alliance Against Racism and Political Repression, are marching in front of Channel 7 News to get attention to the conditions of Menard and getting it closed down, which is 190 North Michigan Avenue, today, August 1st, Monday at 6 p.m.
And is the public also invited to participate?
Absolutely. I've passed out over 200 flyers. Every weekend, we do tabling with the Chicago Alliance to get petitions signed for Anthony Gay, and along with other things that we're doing, and we're passing out and registered to vote. We're passing out the flyers. This weekend, the weekend before last, was super huge. We did phone banking to get folks alerted about today's event. So we're looking for a great turnout, especially with the organizations that are on the flyer with us and their contacts.
Okay, and also if you can, please ask Liam to send us a digital copy of the flyer. Okay,
Absolutely.
And if you have time, what other meetings have there been, and what other rallies have there been, and how much help were they able to give you?
Well, the symposium we had in May at the Rainbow Push Coalition, we spoke about the conditions. Each one of us gave like a 3-minute synopsis on our individual sons and their cases and why they were there wrongfully convicted. We had the summit with Rainbow Push in June at the South Shore Cultural Center, where we all spoke. The Mothers of Justice spoke, and some other Friends of the Mother MOJs recently released inmates that did 20+ years and no hand for hand what's going on in the facilities, knowing that what we're saying, what we're hearing from our sons, it is the truth. They lived it at Menard. So these are things we can't make up, because these release inmates are telling the same story as our son. Back in February, we had a march in front of the Thompson building in the cold, and we passed out flyers for that to talk about the discussions and the conditions of the Menard Prison.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much, Roni Thraillkill. Good luck to you. I hope that you have a very successful rally tonight at 6
Yes.
at the Channel 7. Let's see, what's the address?
190 North Michigan Avenue.
North Michigan Avenue.
Yeah, so that's like State and Lake right there
Okay.
on that corner.
Okay, so it's very easy to get to. Just get off at the State and Lake on the
Yes, ma'am.
blue line or red line, I can't remember.
Exactly. Yes, ma'am. It was a pleasure meeting you, Trudy, the wizard, and Bill Morton. Thank you so much. I have some takeaways from you that I will be sharing tonight. I appreciate you both. Trudy, don't hesitate to contact me anytime.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Good
It
luck
was
to
a
you, Roni.
pleasure. Thank you,
Thank
Bill.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.